You want the perfect combination of dreamy, sleazy, evil, beautiful, right? Like all those things combined into one.
Welcome to the Dreams of Consciousness podcast. If you'd be so kind, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, my name is Peter Turik. I'm from the band Witchrot out of Ontario, Canada. And yeah, it's awesome to be here.
And Peter, how would you describe the music of Witchrot?
Witchrot is, I guess, as far as general labels go, we're considered a doom band, doom metal. But, there's all these different subgenres that you could fit in or different influences that come up in our music. So I would just say as a general label, we're considered doom.
And of the different influences that you guys have in your music, would you say you have a lot of psychedelic or even shoegaze influences?
Definitely. Those are actually, I would say we were more into psychedelic music from the start before we were really into heavy music. So Leah and I started the band back in 2018, and she was always into psychedelic music as when she moved to Canada from California. I think she was 18 or 19. She would put on house shows, and it was always psychedelic bands and garage bands. And I used to be in garage bands more so than heavy bands. Not that our band is extremely heavy or anything, but just I find often we'll play psychedelic festivals and we'll be the heavier band, and then we'll play metal festivals and we'll be more of the psychedelic band. So as far as that goes, and shoegaze wise, I mean, shoegaze and psychedelic to me are always, they go in tandem, right? I've always been inspired by both. So yeah, I think both those genres are good labels for our band.
As far as being labeled a doom band, do you feel a lot of that is the pace? Do you feel that your songs are mostly slow?
Yeah, I mean, every now and then, we have a sleazy faster part, but yeah, I would definitely say that's right. It's a good way of putting it. It's the speed of the BPM, right? It's just I like heavy music, but I definitely like slow heavy music. It's a lot more hypnotic.
You mentioned you and your vocalist Leia formed this band in 2018. What were your goals at the time? What did you hope to accomplish with Witchrot?
Originally, like I just wanted to play bass in a doom band. I wanted to play bass where there was a big sound and we had like an actual singer and just people where that everyone worked together to be in a band. And slowly it kind of fell apart. I switched to guitar after a bit, and because we couldn't, it was hard to get people to actually commit. And it's the nature of the beast when it comes to music, right? But originally I think we just wanted to be in a cool band that wrote some cool songs. And yeah, we're still doing it. It's pretty funny.
You mentioned Leia was putting on house shows with a lot of psychedelic bands. Was it always a given that when you guys worked together, the psychedelic influences would be a big part of that music?
Yeah, I would say it's like inevitable. Like I don't even try, and she'll be like, "Oh, well, this is like, well, let's add a million vocal layers to this one song here." And it's not yeah, it's not because we're trying to make it psychedelic, just like I'll do something that's maybe a little less psych and she'll add that part to it, right? Not to say that we're a completely psychedelic band, but there's definitely a good portion that is influenced by psychedelic music.
So I need to bring this up because I think some people know about this from Witchrot, but at a certain point, there's a the band went on hiatus, and I think there was a little bit of misinformation or maybe even a prank on the band's part about what had happened. Do you want to talk about that?
Back on our viral post days, is that what
Yeah.
you're questioning?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. That was I originally was the bass player of our band. I started with Leah and our old drummer, who's a good friend of ours, and our old guitar player, who's not really a good friend of ours. And at the time, our old guitar player was sleeping with my girlfriend of then. And, I found out and I kind of dissolved the band because, there really wasn't much of a point to continue. We kind of all hated each other, I guess, or at least we all hated our guitar player. And yeah, from there, I made like a band breakup post because at the time there were lots of people and friends that we knew that were they were paying attention to us. So it was just easier for me to make one steady post that everyone could see what was going on, why we're breaking up. And yeah, it blew up kind of overnight. And I think it was the honesty of what happened. And our drummer, I passed it by our drummer who had quit about a week before. He was in too many projects. And he said, just say that I died. It was a funny thing. And like, okay, and now like I look back because there was one guy who commented, I remember, and he said, my drummer actually died. So F you. And I went, okay, well, sorry, man. Like, it felt kind of bad, but at the same time, like, come on, it's on the internet, like
Right.
there's tons of BS on the internet. But, but yeah, other than the drummer dying, it was all true. And whatever, it got us some hype. But, the problem was that we didn't really have much to offer at that point. So as much as we got all this publicity, like I had to go into the studio and record, and then the next bit of music didn't come out for a while because it's a long process. You got to record, you got to get the guy to mix it, you got to get the guy to master it, you got to get the label to press it and all that, right? So because of that, it was almost a wasted opportunity, but not completely, right? Like I would say a good amount, pretty much everyone that knows our band now and listens to our band now doesn't even know that we were that same band, I would say. Like there's a good portion that do, but most of them don't. And, either way, it's fine. Like I'm married, I have kids now, and, it's great. I thank the guy every day if I could, right? But yeah, as far as the band goes, like, yeah, it helped a bit, and that's great. But no one really cares about it anymore except for the people who don't really care about the music.
Right. Well, what led you and Leia to get the band back together?
After that specific time, yeah. There's a local promoter in Toronto named Dan Burke, who's a legend. And he was like, you guys should play a show. You guys should get together and do it. And I was like, oh, I guess that's a pretty good idea. So I made sure that she was up for it, and she was. And because of that, we kind of just kept going. And, we've had a couple lineup changes since then. But yeah, there's always been a reason to stop playing in this band. And for some reason, we've always kept going.
So I believe your drummer has joined us. Myles, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Myles Deck. I play drums. I just got this link like a second ago, so I jumped on. Started to barge in on the party.
No worries.
No, that's it. Good.
So Myles, Peter and I were talking about the early years of the band and how the first lineup was dissolved. Do you want to say how you got involved with Witchrot?
Yeah, sure. So I was just sitting in my apartment rotting here in Aurelia, and I got a message from Pete, and I guess he lived up here, north of Toronto too, and he was looking for someone to jam with, hang out with. So I just called him up, shot the shit, and we just talked about, music, had a few beers at a local spot, and, we jammed a few times, wrote some like Kiss-inspired riff rock, which, we eventually incorporated into Witchrot. But he asked me to join a tour that their previous drummer wasn't able to do, which in fact did not happen. But, I stuck around and we wrote some really great songs. Pretty excited about the album we put together. So yeah, that's kind of my story joining this band.
So Myles, you joined fairly recently, right?
Yeah, it would have been like, I guess almost 2 years ago now.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, it's kind of recent, but also not.
Right. What was it about Witchrot's music that you liked?
Well, I'm getting older, so it was slow and kind of more my speed these days. Yeah, I know. I really liked Peter's riffs. That first Witchrot record really kind of has everything. And then, of course, Leah's vocals She's like a powerhouse singer. It's kind of undeniable. Two elements sounded good together. I don't know, it was heavy. It was dark. I liked all the key stuff that was happening, all the synth stuff that was happening in the background. And, Pat's in the band. He adds a lot of that flavor to the band. It was just cool. It just sounded good. Sounded good to me, and I was excited to be a part of it.
You
How do songs start for you guys?
Well, I would say on this, like this last record here, I had a bunch of ideas that weren't fully fleshed out. And then when we were supposed to go on tour and that tour got canceled, we figured, hey, we'll just hang out at my place for a couple days. You know, we took time off work, so we might as well just hang out and write some songs. And I had, like I said, I had some ideas, and from there, we all kind of riffed off those things. You know, I would say it is definitely a democracy. I really like having an uneven number of people in the band because then we can vote on, is this cool or is this shit, right? It's important.
So, Peter, do you start the songs on your own and then bring them to the band and you guys arrange them together?
Well, that's kind of how it works, but at the same time, you know, there are a couple songs at least that we kind of just riffed about when we were in the basement there. But the basement being the jam spot in my basement. But, you know, like for example, on this record, there's a song called Green River. And it's kind of the out of place song, the dreamy kind of shoegaze one. And that was just Leah holding a guitar and fiddling around. And from there, we kind of just wrote a song, you know, and that took a total of 10 minutes, right? There's nothing too crazy about it, but just sounds good, right? So
I'd say that a lot of this record it was me and Peter just like hanging out in his basement. Like he had riffs, but like the arrangements kind of came together there with just me and him jamming. Because we live close together, so it's easy for us to get together and jam. Where the other three live in Toronto, so it's a bit more of a hike, right?
Sorry, yeah. I was just like, as far as the songs go, it's like without Myles, most of the songs wouldn't have been able to get finished. You know what I mean? It was like him and I kind of working on it together. And you know, like I was saying, we can kind of vote on things, but it's definitely him and I kind of fleshing things out together.
There was a lot more hanging out, drinking beers, and talking about music than actual playing.
Half the battle there, you know?
Yeah. So the album that we're talking about is called Soul Cellar, and it will be released on the 23rd of May through Fuzzed and Buzz Records in the US and Majestic Mountain Records in Europe. I mean, it sounds like it wasn't pre-planned. It was just you guys hanging out, talking about music, coming up with ideas. Did you want to build on anything you had done in the past, or maybe try anything new?
I think there's a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot of thinking, but there's a lot of attention that goes into, is this a Witchrot song, right? Like, this is a cool riff, but it doesn't really strike me as Witchrot, right? And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we want something that's completely different and new, but I think it all has to hold together and still sound like our band, right?
And then I think I'm not really used to playing in a doom band. This is the first doom band I've ever played in. So it was a big change for me. And I think maybe just my like straight up heavy metal style might have changed the sound a little bit too.
Yeah.
But
for people who aren't aware, Myles was in Cauldron.
Right.
You have a trad metal background.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. That was a big part of my life, you know, from like 2012 through 2019. Yeah. And like that definitely influenced my style of playing.
Was it an adjustment to play slower?
I mean, Cauldron wasn't a super fast band to begin with, but it was definitely more upbeat.
Right.
Like Witchrot's like you're slowing it way down. And I'm usually a speedier player, so it took a lot of like conscious work to, you know, bring it down. Because these songs don't sound good when they're sped up. They need to be slow. Yeah, I don't know. I tried to do some like keep it simple and primal. I like playing primal. Like anything where like the drums, you're playing all the drums at the same time, just like an ape would play. Like clever but stupid. That's my speed.
the caveman Phil, you know?
Yeah, I'm not really into all that tech
What's
metal stuff. It's got to be. I'm not into thinking man's metal. I like
Yeah, no.
caveman metal.
Thinking is for elites. Yeah, Cauldron was a band that I always admired. So when Myles and I connected, it was pretty cool. Yeah.
It felt like a natural pairing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, old heavy metal, old doom metal, both entwined at a certain point, right? Like, you couldn't have one without the other.
Yeah, there's a
No,
lot like I really like the band Trouble, and you know they're a good combo.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, they're a good combo of everything, right? Of all of that. So,
yeah, me too.
But Peter, you said something interesting about whether or not a song is Witchrot. I think that's something, a lot of bands are excited about. And, to be fair, you guys have 2 albums and an EP, so it's not like a lot of people outside of the band have a full picture of what you guys want Witchrot to be other than what you had already put out. Do you know what I mean?
for sure, that makes total sense.
So when you say is something Witchrot or is it not Witchrot, what are you looking for? What are you hoping to convey with your music?
Yeah, I mean, like Myles said, it has to be dark, and there has to be a total hypnotic feel to it, I think, right? I mean, you want the perfect combination of dreamy, sleazy, evil, beautiful, right? Like all those things combined into one, but you're not always going to get it all even, right? Like it'll be 20% this or 30% that, and maybe 60% this or whatever, right? It's just got to have the whole record. I think the record as a whole has to be even with all of that because I'm a real record guy. Like I rarely will listen to a song. I'll throw on an entire album, right? And it's entertaining that way. I mean, music is for me. Don't get me wrong. There's lots of singles that I like, but I really like listening to a whole album. So
Yeah. Was it important for you for this album to flow from beginning to end? Like almost like one piece?
yeah, I mean, to an extent, I think it does. I think it does really nicely. But to be honest, I think it kind of works. It just kind of works itself out that way. Like a lot, like I'm pretty sure we all just agreed on the set list without us even talking about it to each other, just because, or the track list, I should say, just because we kind of knew, oh yeah, well this one goes first and this one goes second, and it just kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I usually start thinking about flow like early on when we're writing to the place of a song within an album. It's something that I think about a lot. So yeah, I'd agree.
The sleazy side of your sound, would that be the Kiss influence that Myles mentioned?
Yeah, I guess to an extent. I mean, Kiss was the first band that I really loved as a kid. I would say like there's definitely sleazier music than Kiss that I'm interested in. But
Right.
yeah, I think Myles, like he's from Cauldron. He's got a bit more trad metal origins, I guess. So yeah, I think we've bonded over that. He's got me more into Brian Johnson, AC/DC than I was prior. But
Hey, yeah, it gets you eventually.
Where did you guys end up recording this album?
Kind of all over the place. There's a studio here in Aurelia that just opened, and they built it in an old auto garage, so it still smells like motor oil in there. It's also nice and bright. I don't know, it's really cool. It's like two guys that are local to Aurelia. One guy named Taylor Knox and another guy named Nixon Boyd. Nixon played in a band, like a Canadian indie band called Colorado. So I kind of knew of him through music, and like Colorado were kind of like a big deal at one point here in Ontario and Canada, and I think abroad. But yeah, really nice studio. But where else do we record, Pete?
Yeah, we also recorded at Palace Sound in Toronto, which most of Hollow was recorded there, a previous record. And that was with our buddy Dylan Franklin, who's pretty much worked on every single Witchrot release since the band started. He's just a good friend of ours, and yeah, he mixed this record as well as tracking some of it. So
I think I forgot the name of the studio in Aurelia. It was called Simcoe Mechanical. I think that's right. Forgot to mention that.
Yeah, it looks like an auto garage. Like it's got the vibe for sure. So it's definitely cool.
That's awesome. As you mentioned, you've been working with Dylan since the beginning. What do you like about working with Dylan, and what do you want him to bring to the sound of the album?
Well, Dylan is one of my best buds from back in the day, and he's good at what he does, right? And he doesn't bullshit me. I don't want to waste time in the studio because we're trying to do something productive, but also we're paying for it, right? Like, we don't want to waste money. We don't want to waste time by somebody pussyfooting around, right? And, every now and then we'll mess around with something for 20 minutes, and if it goes nowhere, he'll let me know, and he'll be like, this is stupid. This is not cool. Let's not do this. So I really appreciate.
He's got good taste, and he's got like good sensibilities. I've only worked with him, that just a few days, but I noticed that stuff right away. He's cool. He's got great hair too.
Yeah, he's got great hair. He looks like Danny McBride. Yeah. No, he's good. He's eclectic taste too. He used to be into a lot of hardcore, and he still is. And his band sounds like the Smiths, though. But he's all over the place, right? Like he's one of the best producers in Toronto, or best engineers, and he's just great. He's a great dude. Good time to be around too. So it's worth it.
I mean, part of what he has to do as far as mixing is find the levels for the vocal layering and Patrick's keyboards. Is that challenging, finding the right balance?
Maybe more so when we're live, because there's a lot of times where we're trying to be really loud and Leah's vocals won't cut through. But when it comes to recording, yeah, I mean, I would say the vocals can cut through. We just got to make sure all that reverb that she wants, the 1,000 layers of reverb cut through as well. And then Pat's keys, same thing. It's like, okay, I got 100 layers, but still doesn't sound quite full enough, right? So
more is more.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys mentioned AC/DC as far as some of the influences. Myles, for the drum sound, was that something you were looking for? Did you want to get like that full kind of arena rock sound to your drums?
I'm really into the snare sound on Back in Black. It's like one of the best snare drum sounds ever recorded by man. Yeah, I mean, the slower you play, the better arena rock drums sound. Like, just you can't have a ton of reverb on drums when you're playing blast beats. It just disappears into the ether.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of the arena rock. I'm a big fan of what's called the douche snare, which just goes douche.
Okay.
Pretty much when a snare drum sounds like you're hitting a trash can with a log, that's kind of my jam.
Yeah. Tony Reed, who mastered the album, how did he get involved? Who recommended him?
Yeah, so Tony Reed, funny enough, has mastered pretty much every Witchrot release, sort of out of coincidence. Our first 7-inch was with DHU, and DHU Records got him to master it. And from there, we kind of just kept working with him. It's just always made sense. It's always sounded awesome. Everything he does, which is half of the music, like the doom scene, he's involved in. But it's all great. There's really no reason not to work with him. It's great because he's in great bands and he has great taste. And yeah, I've never been disappointed. So
By the time people hear this episode, the album will be out. What do you guys have planned in terms of tours or shows or anything like that?
we have a couple local shows. I mean, shows around Ontario, Canada, and a couple festivals and whatnot. But mainly we'll be doing UK and European tour in August, starting August 12th to August 24th, with our last date being at the Cosmic Vibration Festival in Sheffield. And then after that, we're going to be doing some East Coast tours as well. And then, we'll see where we go from there.
East Coast Canada and the US?
East Coast,
East Coast Canada.
Okay.
yeah. As far as US goes, it's kind of tricky for us to get in there and make it worthwhile, but who knows, right?
It's definitely dicey right now, right? For foreign bands to come in.
I mean, like, it's dicey, but there's a whole work visa process, and it's super expensive. And it's only gotten more expensive since I've done it with Cauldron, and I foresee it getting more expensive again. So
it's nothing to do with anything going on right now. It's literally been like this for a long time, and it's just getting worse.
Yeah.
It's like it's just kind of the nature of the beast. I had our buddy's band went on tour, I don't know, maybe a year ago, I think, and they came back. They said all in all they made $10 because of how much they've on just visas alone, right? And then it's you got to pay for these visas, and you're not really making much when you're out there. You got to find places to stay and whatnot. And it would be great. Don't get me wrong. I don't care. I'd love driving through America. It's the greatest. But to do it with spending all this money in advance, that's kind of hard. Right?
Well, yeah, to do it legally, and then you're not even always guaranteed to get a work visa. So that's the other issue. And also, then you got to pay the bribe to get your paperwork put on top of the pile, so somebody looks at it in time to go play your bar show. That's $5 admission at the door. It's just it's a lot.
It's literally cheaper to for us to fly to Europe and fly to the UK and play shows there.
So if any law enforcement people are listening to this, he was just kidding about the bribe, you guys.
Yeah.
Oh no, they know the bribe. They gladly accept the bribe.
It's more so the bribe of the person filling out your visa. So you have to.
Yeah,
it's a legal thing.
It's the Department of Homeland Security that you have to bribe.
Yeah. Anywho.
So, before we all get called in for interrogation.
Well, this interview's been red flagged. Strip searches.
Trust me. Once people see my picture, there's no way. No way any of us are getting back in the country. By the time people hear this episode, Soul Cellar will be out through Fuzz and Buzz Records in the US and Majestic Mountain Records in Europe. Peter and Myles, please tell everyone how they can order the album. What's the best way to get it?
Yeah, I mean, you can go to Witchrot Bandcamp. You can buy it directly from us. If you want to avoid shipping, you can go to Fuzz and Buzz. Fuzz and Buzz is actually a Canadian label, but they distribute North America. You can go to their website, and as well as Majestic Mountain Records out of Sweden. If you're from Europe, that's a good way to get your record as well. Cheaper shipping, right? And then all merch and whatever, you can go, it's all on our Bandcamp. You can follow us on Instagram. It's our main platform that we use, and check us out on Spotify and whatnot. But, we use Facebook here and there too. And yeah, just, you can shoot us an email too. Our email's out there, right? If you want us to play or do whatever. we're pretty responsive. So we're open to whatever people message us and try to get back to everyone if we can.
Pretty sure vinyl escaped the tariffs, so
Yeah,
Canadian vinyl is tariff free.
there you go.
Yeah, let's talk about the vinyl. I believe there are 3 versions, right? Like there's a Fuzz and Buzz version, there's a Majestic Mountain version, and then you guys have your own red version. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So ours is a red smoke and whatever, and then the Fuzz and Buzz is another version, and the Majestic Mountain's its own version. So, for the heads that like the collectibles, you can get it all.
Yeah. And this episode will be out after the album is released, but in terms of quantities, do you think there's still going to be some of the variants around? Or do you think they're selling out fast?
I'm not really sure. As far as I know, there's still enough. I mean, enough. There's still all variants are available, but it depends who you buy them from. We will only have our version, but we've already had a bunch on pre-order anyways, so I can't really say. But if you're looking for a specific one, reach out to any of us, I guess.
Very cool. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man.